Lost is on.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bite-Sized Thursday, a subsidiary of Off Slate Media. Subsidiary. We're going to watch Lost because it's good, we think.
Yeah.
Aaron, what do you think? Do you think it's good?
Yep.
Anyway, today we are watching the third episode of the second season, which is called Orientation. Now, I remember this being one of the better episodes because everybody flipped out when that orientation video was in there because, like, what does that mean? And we're already kind of at a stage where with the show where it's like, what does everything mean? What does that leaf being bent over mean? What do the polar bears mean? And us having watched through the first season now, there's not as much of like mystery like that as what I remember there being in the first one.
But they still do the thing of compound like build up. It just, instead of answering more things, they keep adding, and that's what you do. But I think that's why you get to season 6 and everyone got pissed. Because somewhere in there it's like, well, we can't answer everything, but we have so much that to tie up we can't.
I think that in their heads they answered a lot more than what fans think they answered.
Or maybe they did, and we and everyone else was just too dumb to notice.
Well, I mean...
or it's just not good, we think.
I disagree that it's not good, but...
I don't know. I remember liking the end. I remember feeling like something was missing. Not anything deep. I was like 16, and I was like, well, I feel like there's some things I still don't know.
I think a lot of people got upset because from their perspective, it ended up being, oh, they were all dead anyways, which is an oversimplification of...
I don't even think that's the ending. Like, that's not... I don't think that's it. I think that's more than an oversimplification. I think that's just incorrect.
Maybe.
But we don't need to get into it here. I think
we'll get there eventually.
It came down to...
You mean to death? You like will die eventually?
Maybe.
God, Aaron. Here, I'm just gonna put this camera on, and Aaron is gonna sit there until he talks.
This is a bad idea.
Because
he's well conditioned to not talk. I've known this guy for almost 20 years, and he can clam up better than anyone I've ever met, and do it with that little smile on his face. See? Well, I mean, if you're watching, you can see. If you're listening, it's just dead air.
I can't imagine this is enjoyable for anybody.
Hearing you talk or hearing you not talk?
Are you trying to make him talk? Because if you insult him talking, he's not going to talk.
You never know. Anyway, anybody got any other further introductory thoughts? Aaron, do you have any introductory thoughts?
Not anymore.
What was he talking about when I was out of the room?
We were talking about, because we saw the image on IMDb. I flipped through to make sure I have the cast pulled up, because sometimes in the middle of the episode it's like, who is that? Like last week, who is Michael's lawyer in the flashback? Oh, I said that looks like Saul Rubinek. I look up, it is Saul Rubinek. So then I went to the next episode, and the main image for the episode is the orientation video, which makes perfect sense, but it just, for some reason in my head, I'm like, okay, orientation, it's a Dharma thing. Yes, this is the Dharma Initiative, true introduction. But I was like, oh, that's right. The video, that's right. And then we got talking about that.
What did he say? He's clearly not going to say what he said.
We just got talking about certain characters that pop up, and we weren't sure when certain, like, I thought a couple were in season 3 and they ended up being season 4, and then there were others that's like, when did they come? Oh, wait, that's season 3, and they're only in season 3, and this character is only in season 2.
Faraday and Charlotte?
I was trying not to say specifics for a purpose.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
I mean...
It was mostly just to not talk.
We've been doing it the whole time.
I'm trying not to do it as much. I'm trying to talk about the now, but that's what we were talking about, and how the orientation video is, like, as you said, it's one of the coolest parts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's...
Because everybody's all like, oh, My gosh, what does this mean?
Well, the mystery at this point, because first it's what is this island, now it's what is this hatch. Like now we have a mystery inside the mystery, and it's a very good way to pivot to a second season. And we were also talking about how this feels like a completely different season already, 2 episodes in.
Does that make season 3? What is this beard in this box?
What is this others?
Yeah, we were saying how each season does have its own thing, and that's good because you don't want it to be the same thing every season.
Yeah, it's just no one likes the season 6 thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we ready to get into the episode?
I'm ready to watch.
All right, gentlemen, let's get lost. Welcome back, everybody. We just watched season 2, episode 3, Orientation. Arguably one of the best episodes of season 2, I think. Even though even though I haven't watched it in a while. Very frustrating time-wise. It took Kate, like, what do you say, 23 minutes?
20 minutes or so to find the breaker box. And it wasn't that it's easy to find. It's more of that space is not that big.
They kind of didn't do themselves any favors giving them a manufactured ticking time bomb every episode that now they have to be there to take care of.
Yeah, and this is going into what I will talk about. This is like the start of that stagnation where not only are we in the same spot for a lot of the season like this, now we have a recurring thing happen of, oh, well, remember this is in the back of our minds. We have to get this, and it works. But then after a while, I remember it getting a little old.
We'll see.
But
I seem to remember there being enough outside to hatch. And when the first time you watch it, the whole Ben stuff, when they lock him in the cellar, is good, in my opinion. You got any thoughts, Aaron?
Yeah.
What are they? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to talk about Locke because it reminded me of actually something last episode that I forgot to mention, which relates to this episode quite a bit. But it was the moment where Desmond asks him, "Are you him?" And he just stands up tall and gets the grin on his face and says whatever he says, "Yeah, I'm him," or whatever. And it just like calls to his sense of purpose or destiny. And now here we are in this episode. He's got his, duty.
Yeah. I think, how do I want to put this? With regard to the end of the episode when Jack is weighing whether or not to press the button, I don't like that moment because it just feels
manufactured
and forced, and it's like, why would you? Jack has never believed. Why is this all of a sudden a religious experience where he has to push the button and believe?
Yep. Yeah, I like the lore that the episode is setting up because the Dharma short is really cool. I like how it looks like it was made in 1980, which is what the end credit to the Dharma thing said it was copyrighted. I always like old films.
It said it was made in 1970, didn't it?
They said Dharma was found in 1970. The video, it said copyright 1980.
Why were they putting stuff on film in 1980?
They had stuff on film in 1980.
Better question. I mean, other than just to be generally confusing, why were they putting stuff on VHS tape and film? You would think one would be cheaper than the other.
VHS is cheaper.
I'm talking about in the Dharma Initiative.
It's probably cheaper to have a projector than have something that plays videotape.
I suppose that's fair.
That's what I think. We're thinking us us specifically thinking about that too much when it's just supposed to be, hey, cool old film look for orientation video for
Yeah.
the Swan is the name of their location. 3 of 5. So they told us right there are 4 other locations. Whether that's on the island or not, they don't tell us here, but we know Dharma is a big thing on the
Yeah.
island.
I remember this was like peak Lost Mystery sort of stuff.
Yeah. Are you still sitting on Aaron? Not talking?
Oh, I am.
Aaron, say something. Nothing? Okay.
Back to him. Back to you.
All right. So, I like the episode. I was starting to feel that frustration, not out of that end scene of like, no, you do it. I'm like, dude, you got this far fixing it, which didn't feel like that much of an obstacle to fix it. It's like get Saeed, and then Saeed's there, and it's like find the breaker box. By the time I find it, it was like, oh, it's fine.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If I understand how that computer, I don't know that much about that old a technology, but if I understand how the circuit boards are laid out within that, the components inside the computer, how the computer broke, I believe that you still would have been able to type into it. You just wouldn't have been able to see it.
So it was a monitor thing?
Because those computers are like all-in-ones, it's a little hard to say the monitor, but from where it was broken, it looked kind of like you would still be able to type into it.
My whole thing being they're trying to get suspense out of it, but then they cut past most of the suspense of actually putting it together, and then they manufacture that. No, you do it. It's like, this feels so avoidable.
It would have been one thing if, because didn't Desmond like say he didn't know how to fix it, and then the next scene you see him fixing it, and it's like,
that was pretty easy. Well, another thing is what makes that scene easier is, let's say it's just Locke and Jack, and he does it, or maybe the only person who can hit it, which I think becomes a thing later.
Or what if he just says, "Yeah, I know how to fix it," and then the Sparky thing happened, which is another funny thing with computer components. They don't do that, unless it's a power supply. But what if he, said, "Yeah, I can fix it," and then the Sparky thing happened, and he's like, "There's not enough time. I'm out."
It just feels like there were better ways of making it more suspenseful, and just having them all stand around when all they have to do is hit a button. Like it's like, you do it. It's like there are 3 other people standing around who could easily just.
Well, and they're not even people that believe Locke.
Yeah, but Saeed, what did Saeed say? I don't need to know what it does yet. All I need to know is it's counting down to something, and I'll fix it, and then you'll tell me.
You had it right the first time. It was definitely clowning down to something.
Yeah. But that's where I was starting to get a little frustrated. It's like, I think it's going in the direction of what I remember the season being. And I still like it. I still like stuff in the season and excited to keep going because there's a lot of cool Dharma stuff in this season. And again, we have the other side of the story of the 3 guys in the pit cage thing, which that Ana Lucia turn, Jake, you said, and I was thinking too, like, wow, that's really quick. She gets thrown down there, scratched up to make it look like she's captured. She doesn't really get much out of them other than this is here are names. We're on a plane that crashed. She says the name of the flight. They realize, oh, you were in the plane, and she tells them. But then, like right away, it's like, nope. And I get she does it because she doesn't want them to pop a couple bullets into Mr. Echo.
Yeah, I guess that's the only counter argument is the threat of, oh, they have a gun. They actually could be dangerous.
Yep. So it did feel though very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing to make the we'll call the A side the Hatch story, the A story. They're in one place, and then the B story's in the cage, and they're in one place. So it really is a whole episode of people mostly standing in one spot. And it is a juxtaposition to the first season, because the first season, they're constantly moving around and going places. So I get it. But, yeah. That's just what I'm starting to feel like I did when I watched it last time, where I'm still like it, I'm still interested. It's going in that direction, though. Well, plenty of season left and more characters to come.
Yeah.
Yep.
Libby. I remember Libby.
Yep. Which I think we've seen her now when they're dragging them in the nets. We didn't see her face, but it's her. Like the small band of them that are there, we've seen them now. We just don't know all their names. And then I was going to say something else, but I just lost it. It was going to lead into how we also, because we're rewatching it, we know who they are and what they are. So when not much is given to us in the whole episode, it's like, well, we know who they are on a rewatch.
There's still some debate whether or not Libby is one of the others. Because Libby, again, I'm talking about something forward in the show. Because Libby is in the insane asylum with Hugo.
That's right. Forgot about
everybody
that.
Goes, but what is she, like, stalking him? And the show didn't do itself any favors by doing that and then immediately, like, axing her. And then showing, like, Tom Friendly and all the others just get to go into the world whenever they want.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say something else on that similar thing, but I don't think it was Libby specifically. I think it's the fact that, like, this is the second episode we've seen that group and we only know one name, and it's like, yep, 20-some episodes, we got to stretch that out. So, like, we keep referring to Mr. Echo. I don't even know if he's said a word yet.
None of them have a name yet.
Yeah, none of them, but I don't even think he's spoken yet.
I don't even think Ana Lucia gave her name.
She did.
She did?
She told them. But we also knew who that was because she was in the finale to season 1 at the bar at the airport.
Yeah.
So we've seen her before, so it's supposed to be okay. If people remembered from months ago when they watched it live, it's like, okay, that's the woman Jack talked to, so we know she was in the plane. She was near the back. And that's a lot to ask to remember that far, because
I didn't even remember that from a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the finale was May of 2005, and this episode is October, so 5 months. It's like, yeah, if you don't watch it in syndication or buy the DVDs, and you haven't only seen it once, it's like, who is this again? And then maybe you'll remember, or someone who does remember tells you. So that's the thing. It's like, that was the third episode of the season, and we've seen the tail section people in 2 episodes now, and we know one of their names, and it's the one we've already met as the audience, and the others haven't even spoken because they're stretching it out. But I see once we get to the 7th episode, the other 48 days will all get filled in.
That's where we find Bernard.
Yep, he's one of the featured characters. But we still have 3 episodes with other featured character backstories before we get to that point, which somewhere in there will most likely get their names and who they are, but still, it's stretching this over multiple episodes, which is the opposite of TV now, where everything's given to you in one episode because there's like 6 episode seasons.
Do you do that every time you use the word stretching?
Yeah.
Literally?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even outside the context of television?
Throughout high school and college, when I was in like English and speech making classes, they always emphasize speaking with your hands, not too much, but enough to emphasize certain things. So I just naturally do certain motions with certain words. I don't know why. I do that with the stretching, just because that's what I do.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got to say. This episode is starting to feel very, very TV, whereas some of the other episodes are much more cinematic, big things, because premieres and finales. This is like, okay, now we're into the TV of it.
All right. Aaron, you got anything to say? Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, well, that's our thoughts on Lost Season 2, Episode 3, Orientation. We'll be back next week with Lost Season 2, Episode 4, Everybody Hates Hugo. Except for Jared. Jared doesn't hate Hugo. Until then, if you want to check us out, you can check us out on all of the following places.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, The Funny TikTok, and Twitter. Take that, Musk. And you can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring that notification bell. Make sure you check us out and rate us on all those apps. And swing by our groovy website.
And so until next week, gentlemen, let's get lost.